Today I've got a story for you of a pretty incredible individual. He went from being beaten by his father and joining a gang and dealing drugs by the age of 12 to becoming a successful entrepreneur, now gracing stages across America, inspiring entrepreneurs to find their purpose. I'm going to tell you today about Json Sisneros and the incredible story he has for all of us. Welcome to the HP3 Show. We're here for high purpose, high performance, and high profit. My name is Tim Francis. I'm in Austin, Texas. I'm a former college athlete turned intellectual athlete. Json Sisneros is built like a bouncer or a gang member. He is the kind of guy that you do not want to run into in a dark alley, or at least that was the case many years ago. He has a neck that's larger than my quads, and he has a stature that is as bulldogish as a Dana White or a Joe Rogan. He's 5'9" and full of what could be an intimidating presence if he wanted it to be that way. Growing up, Json was unfortunately in a very abusive home. His father would beat the living daylights out of him. His mother was absolutely terrified, felt like she couldn't leave, and that taught Json that he needed to look out for himself and his mother. Very early on, Json turned to crime. It was the only way he knew how to make money, how to use his strength and anger in a way that seemed moderately productive. Json then went on to work in the trades, and one day he decided that he'd want to buy the company of the trades company that he was at. So he worked 5 days a week, then 6 days a week, and 7 days a week, and pretty much 365 days a year for years and years until he could pay off the owner of the business to eventually buy that company. That taught Json the power of entrepreneurship and hard work, and also of acquiring a company can sometimes be a powerful alternative to starting a company. Json has since gone on to motivate many entrepreneurs, telling his story of how he went from gang member and drug dealer to now having acquired multiple companies, exited multiple companies. He's created wonderful wealth for himself, and he's channeled all of that towards powerfully helping women and children who are in need. I've known Json for quite some time, and it was just a few weeks ago that I saw Json at DealCon in Austin, Texas. And in his presentation, Json really challenged us all to say, what is your freedom number? Now, probably a lot of folks in the audience were thinking $10 million, $20 million, $100 million. The number that kept coming to mind for me was 4:50 a.m. 3 weeks before seeing Json speak, I had started the practice of getting up at 4:50 a.m. and doing spiritual study from 5 a.m. until 7 a.m. And I'd done that every single morning for 29 straight mornings, including the morning that I saw my friend Json take the stage at DealCon. I say that it's my magic number because for me, the amount of freedom and magic that's just appeared seemingly out of nowhere since I started my spiritual study as an absolutely unmistakable. We're talking, I'll hope to meet someone and they'll suddenly sit down next to me. Or a long lost friend will text me and offer words of encouragement or an idea based on something they saw me post online. It is really just remarkable how much I have seen magic come into my life since getting far, far, far more connected to the divine. In the room, Json asked from the room, what is your freedom number? But he didn't stop there. He went on to share that for him, he originally chased money because he thought it was the answer. And along the way, he realized that being connected to God was actually his ultimate answer. It's oftentimes said in spiritual circles that money is a horrible, horrible master, but it can be a wonderful servant. And I think Json really embodies that. For many, many years now, he's worked through something called SERT ministries, where they will literally strap on bulletproof vests and they will go into homes where there is a woman who's in grave danger and a child that's in grave danger to help them escape safely. And there have been some very, very dramatic stories of how Jason's been attacked by multiple crackheads in abandoned hotels and just some of the most extraordinary and extreme situations. It takes a very, very special kind of person. Talk about taking gang level skills into the service of God. I think that for me in Jason's story, there's also a couple of really powerful lessons. Number one, if we're doing what we're doing just to make money, we're probably going to end up being very disappointed. In the Bhagavad Gita, which is a many, many thousands of years old book from India, it talks about how the world is really divided into two parts. There's that which will be crushed by time and that which will never be crushed by time. That which will never be crushed by time are things like time itself, God, love, our spirits. It's not that many items. And then there's basically everything else that will be crushed by time. There's our bodies, there's our bank accounts, there's our families, our loved ones, even our city, our country, even this planet. Given enough millennia, it will be crushed by time. And the degree to which we are attached to those items that will be crushed by time, like money or like our business, is the degree to which we are guaranteed to feel frustration and heartache. To the extent, however, that we're attached to those items that will never be crushed by time is the extent to which we can pretty much guarantee ourselves eternal bliss and connection. And so to chase money on its own is a pretty problematic place to be. And I would say that it might sound like convenient to have that view if a person has a lot of money. Like, oh, I have a lot of money. It doesn't really bother me. I don't really chase it. But I would actually say in my life, it's actually almost been even more true when I've been in my most dire of moments, when I've tried to chase money and all of a sudden I fall down and down and down until the point where I have no money and all I have is a hope and a wish to God to be able to help me out. I love that Jason in his story talked about how he didn't wait until he had a ton of money before he started helping women and children to find safety. He started with SERT ministries, and even before that, he'd been an advocate for quite some time for the protection of women and children. In the Bhagavad Gita, there is a passage, chapter 2, verse 47. It says, "You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you're not entitled to the fruits of action." Had Jason chased money only for money, he could have been very, very disappointed. But he saw it as a tool. He saw it as a way that it could be a servant to him, not a master, and he was able to multiply that over time, and then he could combine that with his passion and his activity around helping women and children in need to put it all together. Now, it might be tempting to think, well, goodness gracious, I don't have a ton of money, so I'm going to wait until I do have great means to be able to make my spiritual service. It could be tempting to think that way. In the Bhagavad Gita, it actually says, if one offers to me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. And of course, that is God speaking. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 26. And so even if all that you have to offer is a gentle compliment to someone, or holding open a door, or taking a moment to give grace to someone who may have cut you off in traffic, those can all be offerings to God. You don't have to be a multi-millionaire, or you don't have to be totally saintly to be able to offer that. And yet it is a gesture towards God, and it all counts, I think, is really what I'm wanting to share. And in times like this right now that we live in, where we have so much chaos and violence and division and intensity and yelling and screaming, never before have we needed to bring a consciousness of peace and connection and wanting to understand the other side. For me, a huge supporting effort towards that has been my morning spiritual study, but it doesn't live just in spiritual study. I invite you to the possibility that you don't have to spend 2 hours in spiritual study to get the goodness that is here. Like my friend Jason, you can start even before you have some massive amount of money. And I'm going to invite you that one way that you could start right away is by subscribing to my YouTube channel here, and consider also subscribing over at my newsletter at gohp3.com, where we talk about high purpose, high performance, and also high profit. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.